Hello everyone. In this short video, I'm going to show you one fun thing to do with 3D printing, and that is called a lithophane, which is basically like a relieved version of which you can make using only your picture, your 2D picture, convert it into a relief map, a kind of 3D object, and then print it. You can see one that I made for myself here. So this is the picture that I have, and I converted it into this curved object, lithophane, and I could 3D print it. And here, if I show you, you see that this object is really something curved, okay? It's not flat. On the back side of it, you can barely see anything, but on the front side of it, it's definitely my face. You can see that, you can easily distinguish that. And here I made a pedestal for it too, to make it even nicer with my name on it. Right, and as I said, this is this 3D object lithophane. There are other shapes of lithophane that you can make, and it's not just limited to this kind of curved surface. So how do you do that? The good thing about this lithophane, before I tell you how to do it, is you don't need to 3D scan your head or anything, right? Because if you want your picture or the picture of you and your loved ones or anyone you want to give a gift to, if you want the picture of them to be showing on something, then probably you need what? You need a 3D scan of their head or something like that, which is not easy to achieve, right? You need a good 3D scanner, you need the skills, and then you need to do a lot of scanning and a lot of editing on that head with multi-million points to get a nice scan that you can finally 3D print. I have done a bust like that for one of my colleagues here retiring, and it's not easy, okay? So, and I have one small one for myself in my office, which you probably have seen in one of my previous videos. But this is a nice one, and you can easily achieve that. It's not that complicated. So let me show you how you can do it. So here, if you just go ahead and on Google search image to lithophane, the first website that it brings is called Image to Lithophane 3D Printing Rocks. That is the best site for converting your image to a lithophane. Go to it, and here it gives you a bunch of different 3D shapes. You can put your picture or portrait on it. So you can put the 3D relief on a flat piece, on an inner curve, on outer curve, on a solid cylinder, a pillow, a dome, on the inside or outside, or a heart shape, okay? So all you need to do is first, you can go under setting and model setting and set up the parameters for that part. So let's say if you want to do the same thing as I did, that curved kind of surface, this is the maximum dimension that you have on that lithophane. And basically this is the height and the width. This is the maximum of them in millimeters. Then here you can specify how much of thickness you want that piece to have, right? What is the thinnest layer that you want it to have, and so on. So there are some settings that you can do. The number of vectors per pixel. The bigger number this one is, the higher quality image you need to have. Otherwise, you're going to see a lot of artifacts on your face when it's 3D printed. So only use big numbers when you have a really high quality image. If your image is a JPEG compressed image with a lot of pixelations, go ahead and bring this number down, right? The depth of the stand and the base, so you see this negative 1.2 means it is going to be carved inside the part. If it's positive, then that relief comes out. It's going to stick out. It's going to be extrude, not a cut extrude. Okay, and then how much of curvature and so on. So 0 means it's a flat thing, but if you go to the model and choose this one, now this one has a curvature. So what I did was the outer curve, and then here you go to image, and then choose your image. Let's see if I choose, for example, my own image, this one. It is going to try to put that image on that outer curve and show you a 3D model here. Okay, so you have to be a little bit patient, but it is going to do it. And if you decide not to go with that 3D model, go with another one, just click on it and then click refresh. Then it tries to put it on a new 3D model, and once it's done, just click download and get your file ready to be printed. So here I'm going to show you a file that I downloaded. So it's gonna, when you say download, it is going to download it as STL file. So this is an STL file, and if I bring this here into Prusa Slicer and want to 3D print it, I will tell you a few important things about printing a lithophane. And here we go. So as you can see here, you see a bunch of artifacts on my face, right? If you go here and zoom in, you see all of these lines you see on my chin or on the jaw or anything. That are all because of that image. Because the image that I used, as you can see, if I zoom in, you clearly can see the same artifacts here, here, and on my face. Why? Because this is a very horrible image, right? So I used a better image for the one I printed, but in general, remember, if you want to do a lithophane, you definitely need a good image, okay? Bad images would ruin your lithophane. The other thing you might be tempted to do, and I tried it, is take this to CATIA, let's say, or any mesh editor software, and try to kind of clean it up a little bit, right? Get rid of these wrinkles, get rid of the artifacts, and make it nicer. The problem is when you do that, you're not just going to change that mesh locally, you're going to affect the neighboring areas. And although that area might look very nice, but when you print it, you're going to see another artifact right next to it. Okay, so do not try to really trim this lithophane file that you downloaded. Start with a good image, so the lithophane you get is a clean one, not with a lot of artifacts like this. That's one thing you should not do. The other thing, do not resize the file. Okay, if you click here and try to resize, hey, maybe this is too big, I want to resize it. Right? I want to do something like this to it, for example, and make it smaller. Guess what? Because you're editing a mesh file, right? And the mesh file is a bunch of triangles, really, the STL files. Once you move some of the vertices, the other vertices will move with it accordingly, and although it might look so nice, but when you slice it, you will be able to see some new artifacts, some new ponds, some new hills, some new ups and downs that you did not expect. And I do not recommend changing the size or shape of the STL. Do not modify the STL file at any cost, okay? Try to start with a good size and everything right in that website. Do whatever you want in that website. All the resizing, the maximum size, the thickness, everything. Do not change it over here. The third thing that I recommend is not recommend, you have to do this. It's not just recommendation. You have to print it completely solid. You are not going to print it with infill. Why? Because it might show itself, specifically if the material that you are printing the lithophane with is transparent. Okay, it is definitely going to show itself. And if you don't use shells, enough of shells or enough of solid layers on the outside, even with an opaque color like white, black, or something, you still might be able to see the infill. And that ruins the quality of the part, okay? Unless you want to what? Unless you want to painted like the one I did. This one that you can see over here, this one is painted, right? I used a spray paint of silver and I kind of made it nicer for myself. Not that because I didn't use 100% infill, I did, but there were a little bit of artifacts. Although I did my best, still my image was not like perfect. There were a little bit artifact here and there, and I decided to paint it to make it look nicer. Plus, I really like the color silver. It's one of my favorite colors. Okay, so I painted it, but if you don't paint, it's absolutely, and you use one like this. Look at this one. This is the one I used for one of my colleagues. This is transparent material, and the good thing with transparent is when the light is passing through it from the backside, it looks very nice, okay? And that's what I tried to do for myself too, but my picture again was not amazing as much as the one that I used for my colleague. So you see, although for him it's transparent and you clearly can see through it, and it's very nice, I would say, for mine, I decided to paint it. So there are so many things you can do to it, but I still recommend you make this completely solid printing. The final thing that I recommend, use brim as well as a couple of or a few layers of raft. So if you're using Prusa, go to support material and use a few layers of raft. Why? Because what you are printing is a tall and thin object. And there is a good chance that this guy tips over and falls over during the printing if there is not enough of adhesion to the bottom. And remember, the contact area is just this small kind of curve, right? It's a small surface. You don't have a lot of surface area. You have a tall and thin object. There is a good chance this object loses adhesion to the bed and falls, and you ruin your print halfway through the print, okay? So by no means it's a good idea to do such a thing. Use brim, use raft. Raft are the few solid layers below the actual print. And the combination of raft and brim hopefully would allow this guy to stick to the bed for the whole print time. And these guys take some time. I mean, with Prusa that I used, it took me some quite good time. The other thing you have to do is the print setting, the layer height. You do not want to go with 0.2 or 0.3 layer height. You definitely want to go with 0.1 or below 0.1 because these are small, basically reliefs. If you use big layer heights, then the basically roughness of the layers will be added to all of those reliefs and ruin them. You want to print as smooth as you can with the smallest size of layer, so anything above 0.1 is not a good idea. I remember I printed mine with 0.07 or something. Of course, it adds to more to your print time, but definitely you want to use a very small layer height. And it took probably, I don't know, about like 18 hours or so. Okay, but if it's a one-time thing and you want to do it right. So you can do it either this way or this way, and it is really a cool thing. It is really a cool thing. I really like this, and I want to have it in my office. So this is something you might want to consider for yourself or for your friends. Very simple thing. You do not need to have a CAD software or a mesh modifying software or anything. And just project your simple picture onto something, maybe your whole family, right? Put them on some cylinder, on some heart, on something cool and nice, and 3D print it, and you can have it as a gift. So just go to that website I just showed you, and I assume everything should be fine. So hopefully you enjoyed this video, and I will see you in my next lecture. Thank you.